First and foremost, all praise and glory is unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Harachach Wadash. Double honor to our apostles, the bishops, the elders of the great millstone, and greetings, salutations, blessings, much love unto you, elect. Shalom unto you. Your brush Shaquat with a video. And I just want to tap into this. I've seen a couple, you scroll and you find certain things on these social media platforms, and, you can think of a spiritual uh, uh, edification to bring out of it. Okay, and it's always good to tap into these things. And we always talk about mindset. We always talk about what you give your energy and your power unto, what you give your time unto, what you feed your spirit with, as well as your body, those health, other situations. So this is no different. Going back into this music and the power of it. Okay, and a couple of videos I'm gonna share with it. One of them I'm gonna try to get a little piece of it, you know, um, and then I'll try to bring it out. But actually, I have to think of a couple of songs. But at the end of the day, um, I'm gonna start here at Isaiah the 14th chapter, and it shows you how powerful music is. Okay, and as a music lover, as most Jakes are, but as someone that enjoys music, I can't enjoy all music. I can't. It's been years. I mean, back growing up, I think I was in my early 20s, and I just couldn't deal with the radio. I mean, growing up in Southern California, I just could not enjoy the radio anymore. Every once in a while, you'll hear something or it'll remind you. And it got to the point where the conventional hip hop R&B stations was just too much. I couldn't take. It felt like an assault. When I came into the truth after, it was like, oh, that's why. Because you see the power of what they do with the music. So I'm gonna bring all of this out. But I'm gonna start on a positive note, okay? And then I'll try to blend this other song through the middle of the video. These other couple songs, how they have power, and then I'll finish out with the original, well, the second video that I found on the internet that just tied right into it all, and then Lord will it's edifying. So Isaiah 14, verse 3, I'm starting here because it's going to illustrate um, where we're at today and where we need to get to. It'll kind of show and bring out the point, okay? Isaiah 14 and 3, in that, and I'm reading NLT, in that day, in that wonderful day, when the Lord Yahweh, which is the name of the Heavenly Father, gives his people, the Israelites, you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and Israelite foreigners, rest from sorrow and fear, from slavery and chains. And right now we're still in that day. Okay, and this will tie into the end of the video as I'll foreshadow that we're still in captivity in so many ways. And one of the ways we're still in captivity is by the music we listen to. It's not on accident that we have things like drill rap and the music that we listen to is just so far different from the music we grew up with. And one of the things that when I came into this truth, it was this guy, I don't know what his title is, but his name is G. Craig Lewis from X Ministries. Okay, and it was listening to that, and I'd already felt a certain way about the music prior to listening to his videos, and I've come across him again. I guess he's back and around. Matter of fact, I didn't even think about his video. I'll try to add that toward the end of this. Or maybe I'll just tie the second video that'll be at the end. I'll bring it back into the video I do about that. That's probably what I'll end up doing. But anyway, for interest of time, it says, so we're still in the captivity. We're still in chains and slavery now, right? It says, you will taunt the king of Babylon. When we're freed and in the kingdom of heaven, we will taunt the king of Babylon. Who's the king of Babylon? It's not the ancient kings of Babylon from the ancient Babylon. Okay, this is actually New Babylon, the virgin daughter of Babylon, where the Edomite is actually the king of Babylon now. Okay, he's actually the Pharaoh and king of Egypt now in prophetic scripture. Okay, we're living in that time where he's fulfilling that right now. All right, you will say the mighty man has been destroyed. Yes, your insolence is ended. Okay, and they tried to go into insolence, but Yeah, let's check out the word insolence if they'll give it to me. Let's see. See, they didn't give me that word. They gave it to me in the KJV. Oppressor. Nagas. Nagas. Nagash. The press, drive, oppress, exert demanding pressure. Okay, driver, taskmaster. We know this goes on. But even when you tie into to the ancient Egypt, where the Pharaoh that rose up that knew not Joseph began to oppress us. Okay, and he made us serve with rigor. Okay, hard bondage. Okay, wherein thou was made to serve. All these things tie into where we're at now. We're back. It's happened before, and we're back to that now. Okay, oppressor, tyrant, lord, little lowercase lord, right? Just someone over somebody. Exactor of tribute, to be hard pressed. Okay, you get these words here. Taxes, so on and so forth. Let's go back. It says, verse 5, for your Lord has crushed your wicked power and broken your evil rule. And that's what's going to happen to him. Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is going to destroy that. His time is ended in the blueprint of Yahweh, and Yahweh Shai is going to come back to actually physically play that out. Okay, it says, here's where it gets into the point. You struck the people with endless blows of rage and held the nations in your angry grip with unrelenting tyranny, even to the point that the Israelites are subject to terrible music. He assaults us with the music. He controls the music industry, so he assaults us with the music he gives us. Okay? This is part of what happens, man. Okay, this is what we have to deal with and endure. You know, it gets to the point where you're just like, man, I might as well just learn an instrument on my own, go figure out how to play an instrument and just play where my spirit takes me, versus having to be Throat Baby and all these other crazy ass songs. Okay? Where I gotta listen to all these crazy ass slide on the nigga, pop pop, whatever they be saying nowadays. I don't know. Stuck in with the, mumbling and whatever else they're doing. You know, the style of the rap ain't as much as the content. The content is the stuff that really assaults you, but you even learn to realize that the frequencies and patterns are against you as well. Okay? But before we get there, let's get to some positive, right? Verse 7, but finally, this is the kingdom of heaven, but this is going to show you a trace of righteousness that the Heavenly Father has set up is still allowing in the earth, right? But finally, the earth is at rest and quiet, and now it can sing again. The earth should be singing. We should be hearing music when the wind blows, when the trees rustle. Okay, when people are out, we should hear children laughing. When you go to a playground, if you go by elementary school or a park, and there's children at play, it used to be children that play with laughter. That's not what you hear nowadays. You know what you hear now? And this is if they're not on a smartphone or somewhere, right? But what you hear is screaming. Kids play at screaming now. Okay, I remember it used to just be laughter. Now it's like some people are screaming, just running around screaming, just to be able to get that energy off their chest, and that's better than keeping it in. Okay, but it's like kids don't know how to laugh, how to just run and just have that laughter from adrenaline and positive high on life energy. Okay. Parents are, what are you, all that? And then you come with negative energy on top, and the kids don't know what to do. Because parents are like, are they screaming because they're hurt? Are they screaming because they're playing? Well, you got to let kids be kids, because this is an evil world we live in, so you don't know what it is as a parent, but you got to be that attentive. Okay? For you parents that do take your children to the park, hey, let them just run and be kids, man. Let them explore, let them scrape the knee, get dirty, all that. Okay, if getting dirty is a problem, don't let them wear their school clothes. Okay, we had play clothes and we had school clothes. Play clothes were the old school clothes that were that didn't fit anymore or that were messed up eventually. Okay, that we wore out. Or you go to the Goodwill or somewhere, secondhand garage sales or something, and get them clothes that's not really as nice to have their fun in. But you got to have that moment, and you got to be locked into what they're doing in the park. I don't mean you got to play catch with them and run and play tag with them. Some parents do. I would. But that doesn't mean that you still have to do those things. Okay, but allowing children to be children. But it's so crazy how the internet has the adults' minds so colluded, thinking white kids and black kids don't just want to be kids. Because white kids and black kids are teaching their children differently. Now we're seeing the differences of society play out in the children. Now, I'm getting off the point, but I digress. We're getting back to the positivity. Okay? The earth should be singing. We should be appreciating the things that are happening in the earth and the things that are naturally supposed to happen in the earth. Okay, now here's the point in the video I'm going to show, and I'll tap back into the point I was just making as I get to the negativity that we live in today, right? Even the trees of the forest, the cypress trees and the cedars of Lebanon, sing out this joyous song, right? Since you have been cut down, no one will come now to cut us down. Since you have been cut down, and what they're talking about, since the king of Babylon, since the Edomites are no longer in rule. Okay? No one's coming to chop us down. Okay, now let me play this video for you so you can see where this inspiration came from. The trees sing. The trees are tapped into the vibration. I may even ask ChatGPT something. Shit.
Con el instrumento, ¿verdad? Porque recordemos que la flauta es un instrumento ancestral.
So let me tell you what he says. It says, watch how the leaves stop moving when the flutist starts playing. Okay, and that's what he's talking about. Let me back it up a little bit. And I want you to listen to what the trees sound like until they catch the vibe of what he's playing.
Una conexión con lo que hay aquí.
And by the way, the person singing or playing the instrument, and when they're playing from their spirit, it responds to that. No different than humans. No different than animals and plants. Everything responds in its vibration. And what's one of the main things that you can see this play out is when you play music around water. The certain vibration. Man, I've been seeing stuff like this. How the water molecules even change shape when if you have a certain vibration around it. Okay, certain music played, they change shape into certain other forms and shapes. Okay, now I don't remember where those videos are. That you see a lot of things on the internet and it don't all you catch it, but you don't think, hey, I'm gonna put this in a video. So I don't always save them and can easily go back and find them. But you can do a little research on that. Okay, but watch this.
Con el instrumento, ¿verdad? Porque recordemos que la flauta es un instrumento ancestral. Vamos a ver qué pasa.
Hear the trees? Look. You can say, oh, the wind stopped blowing. Yeah, okay. If you watch closely what the trees, how the wind now blows, if that's what you think they say, oh, it's just the wind blowing. But watch what the trees start doing. Mm-hmm. So the subtle movement of the trees now. It's more rhythmic if you can have a spiritual eye to see it and hear it, because of the peace and tranquility of the music he's playing through the flute, through the certain instrument. It went from rustling into like it was a gusty wind going, but you couldn't hear that gust like that. just the trees were just kind of moving, right, rustling or whatever. Then it broke into kind of a stillness over the trees, and then it went to like a slight swaying, like a tranquil movement through the trees. Okay, and there's a little more, but I just want you to pay close attention to the vibration. It's like when they caught the vibe of the music and the spirit of the music, they began to tie into that in the type of music that was being played.
Una conexión
Mm-hmm.
con lo que
I'll
hay
let it play
aquí,
one more time.
con el instrumento, ¿verdad? Porque recordemos que la flauta
Sure, I see
es un instrumento ancestral. Yo con mi cosita. Vamos a ver qué pasa.
See the difference? I never forget. I was in two times I've seen this actually work. Um, Shit, if I want to bring up a third, but two times. Once I was in a subway uh, in New York, and I didn't know that they had pianos in the station. And if we're going down there, a guy starts playing a piano, and you can watch the whole vibe of it wherever the music can be heard. Some people were agitated and they kept moving and moving faster. Other people slowed down and started to look where the sounds of the music was coming from. The guy was just playing the piano. Nothing particular. He was just kind of just playing around with it, just getting some notes and little harmonies. And I saw that work there. Another time I saw it was in a department store. Okay, I've seen it in where it was like Nordstrom or somewhere, and the guy sat down at the piano and started playing, and the security was gonna stop him until they realized he was playing nice things. It was like, oh, okay, they clapped, the people gathered around and clapped. He was like, oh, okay, you can't, that's enough, you can't. They ended up having to move on. But then also I saw it in a restaurant where it was a lot of chatter going on, and murmuring and whatever, you can, in a positive way, even just conversations, you can kind of hear the small roar of a conversation over the restaurant happening. And then the guy, as scheduled, came in and began his set and began to play. And you can see how the murmuring came to a lower volume, and it became more of a soothing sound along with the music versus competing with the music and sounds competing. Even the sounds of the silverware began to change, and I was like, man, I must be on some. This drink must have been really good, but it really did happen that way. And this is how the influence of music can be. And the thing about E is E knows the difference, man. He knows, he's done these studies. He knows that this is true. Okay, that's why he feeds you bad music. Okay, let him play this, and then I'll go into the Chat GPT. Then I'll hop on the other side of it. You can see that not all the trees are responding yet. Not all of them. Just a few that's close proximity. You can see them. So it can't be the wind that's just affecting one or two branches of leaves. This is it responding to the music.
Una conexión con
I asked ChatGPT, can trees sing? Right? And it says trees don't sing in the way humans or animals do, but they can produce sounds, some of which are quite fascinating. Natural vibrations. Okay, trees can make creaking or groaning sounds as wind moves through their branches or as trunks flex under pressure. Okay, and it produces sounds. And this is all tied into the whole creation of the earth. Okay, which I'll get that in Romans in a moment. But it says um, water movement. Scientists have recorded ultrasonic clicking sounds inside trees, caused by bubbles forming in the xylem. I guess that's how you say it. As water is transported, something like the tree's plumbing system under stress. Communication. Trees communicate through chemical signals and even root networks like the Wood Wide Web, funny, but not through song. Okay, but it's all. I took a music class back in college, a music appreciation class, and I forgot the piece. I think it was just the time of the duration of it, and it was just silence. And that began a conversation or a debate in class about is silence music. And then when it was done, I forgot the year that this song was done, but for some of you may know of what I'm speaking of, it was just they got on stage and they sat there and they did nothing. And they allowed the murmur of the crowd to grow, and that was it. And it was that piece of silence. And even the movie, um, I'll get it. I'm gonna show the quick scene if I can grab it. Why not? There's a lot of you not gonna do the work to go look these parts up. But let me see. I gotta go to the internet anyway. So let me see.
All gonna love this new one. The new one is called. So let's listen up to the new record by Pootie Tang called From Pootie High. Ah, yeah. Ah. This is good. This is good. Man, Pootie done did it again. Pootie too good. Pootie too good. Pootie too good. He's so good. Turn that noise down.
Okay, so you get the point. Okay, silence is a form of music as well. Okay, hey, sometimes silence is what's necessary. Okay, the vibration of silence, and it's not about listening necessarily as it is of not creating sound, allowing your spirit to speak clearly to you. Okay, it's a thing, man, and I knew this in the world. People that have trouble with silence, people that have trouble with silence, that always got to fill time with silence. It's like they have something to hide. Like they're trying to hide. Oh, if I just keep your mind moving, you can't think about my inefficiencies or my ill intent or whatever the case may be. Okay. And so it's like, hey, you don't have to feel every moment even in me choosing a woman in this world. You don't have to, or even my circle of friends. A time doesn't always have to be filled with sound. Okay? You'd be surprised what'll happen to people. And like the dad came in at the end of that clip. Okay, Lord, when it ain't messed up by by the internet. Hopefully they just do their copyright thing, because this is fair use, not for any any monetary gain or value, simply for educational purposes. Okay, but the point being that silence irritates some people. Oh, it's just weird in here, man. It's too quiet in here. Man, what's wrong, bro? The demons in you talking too loud, or what? And then you look at people in the world that just gotta feel everything with sound. But then there's times where I'll come in and I'll just have music playing in the background, just underneath, just something in the background, not necessarily anything lyrical or energetic. Just whether it's classical or whatever, just in the background, just to keep a certain energy in the room, a certain vibe in the room. Okay, and some people can't. Oh man, I didn't have family members be like, man, why in my car? Be like, man, why you put this on, man? I'm getting sleepy. And then you saw that happen. See if I could pull it up in that other movie. I mean, I got a lot of movie points, and I'll get back to this Chat GPT in a second here. But they didn't have the scene so on the internet. But for you that know the movie and have seen it on Netflix, good movie. Okay, a lot of hidden gems, spiritual hidden gems in that movie if you could pick it up. If you have the eyes to see and ears to hear, right? But there was this particular scene where they're riding down the street talking or whatever, and then a certain song comes on the radio and they all got sleepy. He did that again later in the movie, which I'm sure they're not going to have on the internet like that. But if you see the movie where they came out of the underground lab or whatever and came out into the club, and the DJ recognized, got the word in his ear that they were trying to escape, and he threw the music on the club and certain things happened. And they, I don't want to give the movie too far away, but the music changed the vibe of the people. Okay? First time I ever saw that was with the song Slow Motion by Juvenile and what's the other one? From New Orleans. Man. I can't think of his name. That's crazy. But yeah, Soldier Slim. And anyway, so in that song, we at the club and they was doing, Cupid Shuffle, or they was doing something. We was in Louisiana. Song going, my cousin. So the song starts to come on. I hadn't heard the song before. He was like, "Watch this," and I was like, "What?" All of a sudden, the whole club went from dancing and bopping and everything going on, energetic. Then this song came on, everything just slowed down. You saw the whole vibe of the club change. And this was before the truth. So when I saw this, I was like, whoa, what was that? He was like, yeah. And watch how the people start acting. Hey, girls start twerking, all types of stuff started happening. But the point was, the vibe changed because the music changed. Okay, well, that's in that movie as well, as if you need another example. Now, let me continue to go on with this, and then I'll grab another movie scene that I thought of. I thought that I was hoping the Tyrone one would show up, but whatever. It says yes. I asked, can trees and plants respond to musical vibrations in positive ways? And I just said in positive ways. I didn't, necessarily say in negative ways, but it says yes. There's evidence that plants and trees can respond positively to music vibrations and sound frequencies, though the science is still evolving. Here's what the research and experiments have shown. 1. Growth stimulation. Some studies suggest that certain sound frequencies, typically in the 100 hertz to 500 hertz range, can stimulate plant growth, increase seed germination, and enhance nutrient uptake. So when they hear certain frequencies, it makes it better. It makes the trees come alive. This is what's going to be happening in the earth in the kingdom of heaven, man. Okay? Them harps that you hear about in Revelation, hey, when the 24 elders and the harps harping with their harps, when all these things are happening, man, this is a vibration that's going to be a part of the earth now, a part of us, starting with the Israelites. Ain't going to be no more drill music and pop lock music, man. Ain't going to be all that no more. Okay? Not in the way that it is now. Okay? It says classical or soft instrumental music often seems to have more positive effect on than loud, harsh noise. Okay, imagine like a child. Imagine how a child's temperament is when they grow up in a calm household and don't grow up with a whole bunch of argument and back talk and all of this going on. Okay, yelling and loud music and TV up super loud and all through the night. Imagine the difference of the temperament of that child, the balance of that child. Not saying it, just simply saying what I'm saying. All right. Number 2, stress reduction. You take arguments out of a household, and you watch how children grow up differently. Okay, I've seen households, and I've been a part of households where they're just constantly arguing and fighting and cussing and loud. And you realize, it's made me think of that I think I did a video on it I don't remember if I actually did the video, but I thought about it when he was talking about how Jake and the white joined, went to college, met a white girl, whatever, and she became his piece. Okay, and oh yeah, yeah, I did do that video, and so as she became his piece, I realized what the problem was. It was the black women in my family was always full of, they were the center of all the noise and all the problems and all the arguing and fighting and just loud talk and just the bad energy that I was grew up with, that I love them. I don't love that about them. Okay. And it's just true. So even that arguing, fighting, and cussing all has a certain vibration to it. Okay. So sound vibrations may help reduce uh, plant stress by influencing cellular processes or even affecting how stomata, tiny openings on leaves, behave. Okay, directional growth. And I even notice here when in my own house when I've turned music on and I just have some chill instrumental music in the background, okay, is versus turning the TV on. You turn the TV on, and even though you choose what you put on the TV, it ain't just like commercials and all of this soap operas and all of that, but you may be watching crime dramas or whatever you may be into, even Law and Order, right? All these shows have a certain energy and vibration that go with it. But when I put music on in the house and I just kind of leave it in the background of the house, I notice the temperament of the house seems to be a little more laid back. My children seem to have more of a laid back mentality. And even you can watch how certain people, it agitates them in moments that don't coincide with what they want to feel or what they do feel in that moment. So you'll notice that my oldest son, he wanted the energy certain times of the day. You see him walking around with the headphones in. Even my daughter, being teenagers, they'll have headphones in. Hey, hold on, I got music. Well, y'all listen to music? Because I got music going on in the house. And, yeah, okay. And I get it. Because I don't necessarily, well, I do, but not everybody will go to the gym, where they want energy to really pound, knock these weights out and do whatever they got to do at the gym. They might want to hear Eye of the Tiger versus hearing, Mozart. Okay? He's like, it's just not the music. I don't want to hear elevator music right now. I'm not trying to hear Kenny G or Paul Hardcastle right now. I need some Dog Pound or some Snoop Dogg or something aggressive. Okay? And that's just what it is. I get it. But you got to also understand what you're feeding into your body and the vibrations that go with it. This plant situation where we were called trees in the scriptures, okay? But just showing you that this has something to us as well. How much more? Matter of fact, Yahweh Shai, in Matthew the 6th, I'll grab it real quick. It's funny, I read up and it said the cure for anxiety, things that you can't control, okay? Having anxiety about those things. Okay, Matthew 6:28. I'll read it in the NLT. It says, "And why worry about your clothing? Look at the lilies of the field and how they grow. They don't work or make their clothing. Yet Solomon in all his glory was not dressed as beautifully as they are." Okay, and if the Most High God, Yahweh, cares so wonderfully for wild flowers that are here today and thrown into the fire tomorrow, the waters in Babylon the Great here in America is going to be cast into that lake of fire as well. All this is going to get burned up. All the beautiful waterfalls and beautiful trees, all that's got to go out of this place as well. Okay, so that's the prophecy that it has to come to pass in this land, particularly here. So why would he still make it so beautiful? Anyway, it says he will certainly care for you. Why do you have so little faith? Okay, so it's basically likening us to wildflowers and even the field being dressed with wildflowers. Okay, so you got to see how the correlation between the simplicity of things and what you feed it and the vibration that it works with music, that it feels the same way on the other side. And in getting to the main point, Esau knows these things. Okay, he understands these things. As the scriptures say, he is wiser than Daniel. He has done a diligent search. Okay, and the people he loves to do the most research on are you Israelites, you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, because he wants to find out how you respond to all things in the earth, so he can keep you in a corrupted spirit and mindset. Okay, if he can do that, and then he knows your environment matters, he knows that all these things matter. He knows that if he puts shows filled with drama that you'll and keep the TV on, he knows that you're gonna find the comfort in that because he'll throw comforting things along with it, but he'll keep you locked into that drama to where you won't be busy doing other things. He knows that if you don't keep your house clean, for men and women, or I'll just say it that way, for you housekeepers out there, if you don't keep your house clean, hey, that he can keep you with that TV on and in comfort, and it doesn't look so bad when you look around the house. But that's a vibration of how we treat ourselves. Okay, that the environment we're in, like I can't, I do things I can't think the same. I can't, I like to paint and draw. I can't paint and draw if things aren't tidy, but I still need a creative mess going around. Now, if it's just random kid toys and whatever else, yeah, things change. Yeah, I like aromatherapy, so I like incense going, and these all things tie into my spirit that keeps me able to flow. Okay, but at the same time, when you don't have these things, when you're not in tune to these things, because you turn on frankincense, and Jacob swear you took a dump right in their living room and lit it on fire. Oh, what's this? It got me sick and got me coughing, and I'm gonna be mad. Like, damn, don't burn sage in somebody's house. you burn sage in certain households, man, and people lose their shit. I hate that smell. They just get angry. Like, damn. Well, you don't see the positivity that the children are now calmer because I burned this myrrh or whatever, in here. This not chamomile, what's the lavender? You don't see that everybody's winding down at a reasonable hour now? So all these things, we can learn these things and use them to our advantage, which is part of the other video that I did when I did the last music video I did a few weeks ago. You can take that same information and use it, but use it for righteousness' sake. Let me grab that precept. Straight to the point. This is Sirach 39 and 27. Yes, to the point. All these things are good to the godly, so to the sinners they are turned into evil. Okay? And that shows you where this thing happens at. If you use them in a righteous way, it's matter of fact, let me go back up. 25, it says, for the good are good things created from the beginning, so evil things for sinners. It goes into the principal uses of things and the list of those things. Let me see. Yeah, let me go to 31. It says, they shall rejoice in his commandment, and because the commandments show you how to operate every sense, every situation in righteousness. Okay, how to deal with every situation and the mindset that you should have toward these things. Okay, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is, and when their time is come, they shall not transgress his word. Therefore, from the beginning I was resolved and thought upon these things, and I have left them in writing. All the works of the Lord are good, and he will give every needful thing in due season. Okay, which was one of the scriptures, the points I want to make. But when you look at this situation and you understand where it's not just, I know how to use this, but if you use it out of season, it doesn't matter. If you're like I said, if you're going to the gym, you don't necessarily want to throw Kenny G on. Okay, if you want the certain energy, you may not want that. If it's at the end of the night where you want to start winding down the household, you may not want to throw on, what I don't know these guys now. Something that has a lot of energy to it, mystical or somebody. I don't know. I'm a little older, but hey, you may not want to throw on certain musics. Okay, you may want to throw on something more calm. Okay, to elicit a certain vibe throughout the house. All right, and that's just using wisdom. But we know E uses it for evil. Okay, that's why I read that up at 27. Okay, they're turned into evil. Now let me get this. Now again, fair use, fair use, fair use. For you that may have seen this movie, this is Fright Night Part 2. This is the original 80s movie. I think this one may have even came out in like 90. I don't remember the year this one came out. But they say well, you'll see. You'll get the point. Because music can be used in different ways, even in seduction, right? And even when you see the first movie and they have this same song, it's that same vampire, alluring, seductive. And you've seen them. I know you guys have seen the what's that other vampire movie? The kid teenager vampire movies. You've seen them, okay? Twilight, yeah, and all of that. You watch it with the werewolves and you watch all that, and you start seeing that vampires and love and seduction. The movie Interview with the Vampire and all these things is seductive techniques. Okay, and even the movie conveys that through the music. This scene makes more sense because of the music that's played along. That doesn't even mean that this music is played where they can hear it in the room as much as it's played for us, the audience, to tap into being in the room with them. Mm-hmm. Yep, see it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That look right there is how it will have you. And see, there's so many things that's been used against you, and even music can be used against you. We know women and all that, whatever, but also the scene of how music can get you in that trance-like state and weaken your subconscious and weaken your spirit to where your subconscious is now taking in negative information, negative vibrations. Okay, and don't get me wrong, I enjoy bassing my music, subwoofers and all of that in the car. Hey, but at the same time, you got to know what to play, the right vibrations to play in there. Okay, turning on something that just boom, 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 3-6 Mafia, boom, vibrating you the whole time. Eventually that beats down. It's funny because, quick testimony, I worked at EDC. For you that know about the Electric Daisy Carnival, I worked there some number of years back, and I was in the truth. And I didn't recognize that when I showed up, that they turned the music on and their stages, and they even have the sonically to where you walk from one stage to the next. In between the transition, there's no silence. There's just no silence out there. It goes from one sound of one music to the next sound. And the way the music and the speakers are set up, you just transition from sound to sound. There's no gaps a silence because people would begin to gather in those gaps if there were. Okay, and then I didn't realize till we closed for the day, early that morning, and I was like, damn, my body's still vibrating, even though I could feel the music go off. It was like a deep bass line that was deep in I don't know if it was in me or in the air, but I can feel the change of it. I'm like, oh shit. And I had a hard time getting to sleep. So Jake had to, I had some yayan and then I prayed and listened to some videos till I fell asleep. Okay? And you got to figure out how to deal with it. And I had like a couple more days of that. And so these are the things that you gotta take in. That music has that vibration. And in the music that's most popular amongst our people has that in it. And you wonder why. Let me see if I can find that other video, man. I'm gonna see if I can find the G. Craig Lewis video, because now's a good time to put that in there.
People think of me in a certain way based on what they have seen. Y'all can't read these words, but I'm gonna read them to you. And he put out right before he died. He said, "I'm ready to die, and nobody can save me." Biting the bats' heads off, drinking blood.
And I watched this probably 2006, 2007. Okay, before I came into the truth. And this, I already knew something like this. I had a guy, which is a whole other something, tell me about the Illuminati way back in '96. And, he was telling me all about it, and how the hormones in the chicken and the music, and he was breaking it all down. And I realized I met this girl, because it was her uncle, simply to find out this information. I don't think I ever talked to that girl again.
All that stuff in the concerts, basically just devil worshiping, he said, but it's coming for the African-American kids. Busy Bone came out talking about the Mr. Ouija. It was written backwards, and you hold it up to the mirror, and it was a confession that you speak. They opened up our community to that spirit. Wow. Now when you see young black men, they look totally different now. But God showed me that.
And look, and even back in the early 2000s, that wasn't all the way in the people in our community yet. Okay, even when it just wasn't there like that. I mean, it was opening up, but it wasn't there. We were still stuck in gangster bravado and all that extra stuff. Okay, but now it's straight satanic vibration now.
In the 80s, people thought I was crazy. Black folks ain't gonna worship the devil. No way.
Meaning, if we were to go back to where hip-hop was at its inception, would it then be acceptable?
Not at all. Hip-hop was corrupt in its creation. African Bambaataa went to Africa. He learned the ways of the Zulus. The Zulus are into ancestral worship. People's like, oh, no, it's just beats. And if you know anything about frequency, you know that it's never just beats.
What do you think about the feminization of men in hip-hop? You got rappers wearing skirts and dresses.
These guys are taught by Aleister Crowley to channel spirits from the flood. Nephilim were used to getting praise and worship.
You see this movie Sinners just came out?
Some people can watch it and it won't do anything. But some people can watch it and have an open door. It's the difference to me between Christian hip-hop and Christian rap.
There's a culture that's attached to it.
There's a spirit attached to it. I've been addressed by the spirit. This guy was shy, timid. He was like mousy. After we had dealt with the demons of his wife, he manifested. When this spirit manifested, he sat back on the chair. He had a toothpick in his mouth, and he sat back on the chair. I said, "You know who I am?" He said, "Yeah, I know who you are. You're chosen." I said, "Chosen for what?" He said, "To deal with me." I said, "Well, what's your name?" He said, "Hip-hop." If you take his riches, you owe him something. There has to be a rite of passage.
Oh my gosh.
I tried to warn the church. You sell your soul to the devil, you owe the devil your soul.
Even if Jesus never
The devil wants his money back.
bowed his head, if he accepted the perks that the enemy offered, it's as good as worship.
Beyonce had to go to her to get her womb unlocked. The 3 women that were over BLM, they're lesbian witches. And they were doing Yoruba ceremonies in the streets.
God wants you to know that he is far from done with you. He's commissioned, licensed you, not just for then, but for now. He chose you.
I'm gonna be honest. They told me that this might not even happen. I was like, okay, good. know God spoke to you. It just gets tough. That guy was 30. This guy's 55. It's totally different. I'm on every believer's side.
Okay, so now you see, and when you go back and you watch what happened, and look, I've done videos on even music with and hip hop with it's funny because now I guess the phone is tapping into it and the algorithms listening in and suggesting certain things. But we did the thing with Crazy Bone said that there was that hip hop meeting about everything has to be gangster rap, can't be all that conscious talk no more, because things was changing in that sense, which still wasn't right. But in the other vibration of it, they had to call out a basically the private prisons and all of that. It gets into all of this, okay? So they understand. Now I got another video I'm gonna close with, but let me grab a few. Finish this chat GPT and a couple other precepts, then I'll grab that. It says directional growth. Okay, this is still talking about plants. Sonotropism. Okay, some experiments have shown that roots can grow towards sound sources, suggesting that plants can detect and respond to acoustic stimuli. Okay, no different than humans. If you play nothing but gangster rap around certain people, guess what their, especially children, guess what their vibration is going to grow up towards? Okay, to be in the images and the music that they heard, even if the artists themselves are just artists and not living the life. It's funny how in the 80s and 90s, particularly the 90s, the drug dealing and drug selling stories that went out about gangs and all of that went out. But then now you fast forward a generation and a half, and now you have a generation of drug users that are actually not just telling the story, but they're recounting the actions that they've lived through. Okay, could never separate the message from the message from because they knew video killed the radio star, so that it went from just the sounds of the music into the how should I say it, into the stories living out reality, art imitating life and life imitating art. Well, we've seen that happen, and this is an understanding that happens with our people. So why is it pushed that the negativity happens with our people? Why aren't the same genres in all different forms of music? When you look at what our negative genres are, our biggest hits are some of the worst songs out there. Okay? Communication. While not music, plants can emit and receive vibrational signals, a primitive form of communication that they help them warn others in threats or coordinate growth. Okay, there's other forms of coordination, right? It says important caveat: the biological mechanism behind these effects aren't fully understood, and results can depend on species, sound type, and duration. Absolutely. In short, while plants don't listen the way animals do, they can perceive and respond to vibration, including music, in ways that may promote healthier growth. All right. Asked another question. Music, which is music, vibration, and water molecules. Music, which is sound with a structured rhythm and harmony, can affect water molecules through vibrations, and our bodies are mostly water, right? The specific frequency and type of music can influence the structure and behavior of water molecules, potentially leading to changes in their alignment and arrangement. More detailed look. These are actually Dr. Emoto. I guess that's how he said his experiment. Okay, yep. And this might have been the one that I saw. His research suggests that water responds to different words, music, and intentions with positive messages and music like Mozart symphonies, resulting in more symmetrical and beautiful ice crystals, while negative words and music lead to less organized structures. Right? Cymatics. The study of how sound creates patterns in liquids demonstrates how sound vibrations can create intricate and visible patterns in water. Sound in water molecules. Sound waves, especially those in the audible range, can create vibrations that cause water molecules to move and interact with each other. Frequency and structure. Different frequencies of sound can affect water molecules differently. Low frequencies may align molecules in a more structured way, while higher frequencies can create more dynamic patterns and faster movement. Right? 432 and 440. Yep, some studies have compared the effects of 432 hertz and 440 hertz sound frequencies on water, finding that 432 may promote crystallization, while 440 hertz has a weaker effect, potentially increasing evaporation and solubility, according to aquaphotomics.com, whatever. Possible implications: health and well-being. The ability of music to influence water molecules because plants have it and humans have it, right? It's a lot of our structure. The ability of music to influence water molecules could have implications for health and well-being, as water makes up a significant portion of the human body. There you go. Water purification. Some research suggests that sound waves like ultrasound can be used to purify water by breaking down contaminants. Water activation. The concept of water activation through music and other vibrations is explored in some practices, with the idea that it can enhance water's properties. Okay. Water is exposed to low frequency vibrations, and that's kind of what we saw. Okay. Now let me get what this lady said. Well, in fact, let me get some precepts about music, and then we'll get the last video, which I always bring this one out. 1 Samuel 16 verse 23 is a clear indication of what's going on, right? Verse 23, and this is about Samuel, about Saul and David, right? It says, and whenever, this is in the NLT, and whenever the tormenting spirit from the Most High troubled Saul, David would play the harp, then Saul would feel better, and the tormenting spirit would go away. Okay? And so that's also, we know the main song, as I've highlighted in the other videos that I've done on this, about the new song. Okay, this truth. Hearing the song of this truth. You can't just have that bass, you know, all these other vibrations. You just can't stay with that. Some of us aren't mature enough, I should say, to chew the meat and spit out the bones, even in music. Some of it, just through duration, it finally breaks you down. And then days after days, now you're caught up in that vibration now. Okay? So you got to balance it out. And you got to find other genres of music that gives you more of a spiritual insight to it. My favorite is chill, and just saw some suggestions. Lo-fi brothers listen to. Down tempo. Okay? And a lot of these don't even have chill hop. A lot of these are kind of more laid back beats that are, you know, and all the way to you're mature enough to really enjoy classical music, you know. And I'm just saying that something's wrong with you if you're not, or if you never mature to that. But hey, for some people, those are the vibrations. I can't, even though I love Anita Baker, I can't just listen to that love spirit all damn day. But every once in a while, you can throw that on. Every once in a while, you can listen to some Kendrick Lamar and get other things out of it. Okay, there's other people out there that they have good music. Okay, but you don't always have to be at the worst end of the spectrum of the worst mantras and vibrations and messages in the music. Okay, let me show you this. And I'll close with a scripture at the end. But I'll close with this video, the last video. All right, here we go.
In 1938, there was a gentleman named Harold Burroughs Meyer, and he was a theatrical designer and a sound engineer. And he began developing techniques that would control the emotional response of audiences and to create mass hysteria. And so from there, you have this Rockefeller-Rothschild alliance.
Now, what did I quote earlier? To the good are good things, uh, but it's from Sirach 39. But evil, the sinner turn things are turned into evil. Okay, for the wicked things are turned into evil. So this wicked man, he just named some names. She just named some
There,
names.
you would control the emotional response of audiences and to create mass hysteria. And so from there, you have this Rockefeller Rothschild alliance. What they were doing is not only were they looking at ways to steer the masses, but they wanted to change the standard tuning of A to 440 hertz. So in 1939, they began funding Joseph Goebbels, who was the Nazi propagandist. And at that time, Joseph Goebbels, he wanted to change the standard tuning of A. And so he organized a meeting in London to do that. And they didn't invite any of the French musicians because they were opposed to 440 hertz. And then the organizers of the conference, they interviewed musicians, the instrument makers, the physicists, and then also the sound engineers. And if any of those people were against 440 hertz, then they weren't invited to the conference. So it was all controlled. And as a result, it's not surprising that the standard tuning of A was changed to 440 hertz. And that happened June 1939, just months before World War II broke out. And the timing of that is no coincidence because 440 hertz is a destructive frequency, and that it can retrain our thoughts towards disharmony, disruption, and disunity. In 1938, there was a gentleman named Harold Burroughs Meyer, and
all right, so you see it. Okay, you see what it is. Okay, so as much as it can be in tuned, and frequency can in tune the trees and even people. Okay, it also goes against it. Okay, so I'll end with this last scripture. Romans 8:19. I'll read down a little bit, starting in the NLT. It says, "For all creation is waiting eagerly for that future day when the Most High will reveal who His children really are." That's us, right? Against its will, all creation is subjected to God's curse, but with eager hope, the creation looks forward to the day when it will join God's children in glorious freedom from death and decay. Even the music. Okay, even the music. For we know that all creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time. And not only, let me see, there was another one. Yeah, that's us in the body. Save with hope. Was that the point? I think that was the point. I think there's one more verse in here. Bear with me a second while I find it. Yeah, verse 28, I'll read it. It says, "And we know that the Most High causes everything to work together for the good of those who love the Most High." Okay? And are called according to His purpose for them. And so that's where you'll find out where need is, according to Sirach, the 39th chapter. That music is set for certain things. Okay, you telling me in these movies that you can go from a real rigorous, chaotic thing with the villain music, then you can go to a seductive part of the music, then you can go to a build-up of hope, and it's like a triumphant type music where we're banding together, you know, like military style music where you feel obligation and duty towards the situation and you're tied into it, down to a somber tearjerker type music, and then come on. They have studied that the violins get deeper, the tearjerker part. Okay, so all these things are set up this way. Even the trees can feel the vibration is off in the earth. Okay, and the earth is starting to respond back. Why do you think the not just because of the music, but why do you think the vibration of the earth where animals are beaching themselves out of the oceans? Okay, birds are falling out of the sky. All of these are the waters. So this vibration goes out. Hey, when we push this word out, and Satan gets angry, and then he throws the wind and the wind starts blowing like crazy. What do you think that is? Okay. So I'm gonna end it there. Lord willing is edifying, giving all praise and glory to the Yahweh Bashim Yashai. To the next one, Lord willing is edifying. Shalom.